There's one last major thing I want to cover around our project. It's going to involve a little bit of a refactor to all three different projects. So remember, a major absolute requirement of micro frontend applications is that we should be able to develop each subproject in isolation, and we should be able to run each project in the context of the container. Now, one thing to recall around this entire process is that depending upon whether we are running products or cart in isolation versus a container, we're going to be executing our projects with a different HTML document. So if we have products in isolation, we're going to use the products HTML file. That's only during isolated development. If we are ever developing the container or running the container in production, then our products application is going to be using the containers HTML file. So it turns out that there's some really interesting concerns around this. Let's go back over to our code editor. Inside of here, I'm going to find my products source bootstrap.js file. So inside of here, I just want to point out that we have some code that is going to attempt to generate some HTML and then always and instantly try to show that HTML inside of some very particular DOM element. Now, right now, we are making a very big assumption. We are assuming that there is some element inside of our HTML document with an ID of dev-products. We can make that assumption about our products HTML file because the team who is working on this subproject has total control over this file, and they can make this ID right here anything they want it to be. However, the products team is not the container team. The container team is a separate engineering team in theory. And the container team might decide to have an HTML file that does not have a div inside of here with an ID of dev-products. They might have instead some kind of ID of products, or how about my-products? Let's do that. So my-products here. So the products team cannot really control the structure of the container HTML file. They can't 100% ensure or guarantee that some div exists, or some element, I should say, with an ID of dev-products. So the code that we have inside of our products bootstrap.js file, specifically that segment right there, is not too great. It's not very good because it assumes that some element exists when the element might not exist at all. And our products team can't really guarantee that that element will exist. With that in mind, we're going to refactor this bootstrap.js file and better take into account the fact that this element might not exist at all. So I want to first begin by writing out a couple of comments just to help you understand the refactor we're going to do. We're going to make two major changes, or really 3.5 or 2.5 maybe, major changes to this file. So the first comment I'm going to put in here, I want to think about one way in which we are going to execute this bootstrap.js file. So the first way, and I might call this like context or situation or whatever, number one, that we're going to execute this file in is when we are running this file in development in isolation. So in that scenario, we are using our local index HTML file, which definitely has an element with an ID of dev-products. So in this context, or this scenario right here, situation number one, we probably want to immediately render our app into that element. There's no reason to delay. We're actively developing this project. We want to see this HTML appear on the screen because we're actively developing it and trying to tweak how this application works. So that is context or situation number one. So let's now think about situation number two. So context or situation number two, whatever you want to call it. In this scenario, we are running this file in development or production through the container app. And there is no guarantee that an element with an ID of dev-products exists. So in this scenario, we do not want to try to immediately render the app. We don't want to do that because that element that we're looking for might not exist. And if we try to render something into an element that doesn't exist, we're just going to end up with an error message very quickly. So if I could get the spelling of immediately, good enough. So we need to write out some code to handle both of these different situations. We need something to handle context or situation number one and something for situation number two. So let's kind of think about how we can write out some code to meet or match both these situations, and let's write out some implementation for these in the next video.